Welcome and thank you for tuning in to the home of the most competitive game coverage, most intense unit analysis, and the highest of high-level plays ever seen by two casuals who barely know where the rule booklet is. You're listening to This is for Worlds. Let us join Aaron and Phi and see what competitive topic is on the docket today. Hi and welcome back to This is for Worlds. I'm Phi.
And I'm Aaron.
And before we move on into the podcast today, I just want to shout out a couple people. We got our first comment on social media, and that was not Instagram. I mean, we get a decent amount of comments there, but first one on the podcast that indicates anyone actually listens to us outside of the few numbers we see. Isle of Man, Brazil, and now the Netherlands. We see you. We appreciate you. But I do just want to shout out Nutella Snowflake for throwing in some kind words there on the YouTubes for our podcast. And that's where we also realized we actually have most of our listeners, which surprised me, but not you.
That's where I consume, most of my podcast listening myself is via YouTube, so...
Totally fair. We appreciate anyone and everyone who finds their way to, us two scrubs out in the Pac Northwest of America, just talking about the games that we play at our local store, weekly. And with that, we can move into modeling for advantage. Have you at least been busy? Because I actually did a thing.
Well, I feel like I've been working on the same 6 models for the past 3 episodes. It's just the stuff from the last wave of Marvel Crisis. I've been super burnt out on most painting, where it's just like I sit down and I look at it, I'm like, or I could go play games.
That's fair.
So I'm slowly inching my way there, where I think I've got 1 left, maybe 2, but one of them's a character I'm not super interested in playing. And quick aside for Marvel Crisis, generally you always get 2 characters in a box. Usually they're either in the same affiliation, like you get, or they're like a thematically appropriate Wolverine and Sabretooth, Cyclops and Storm, that kind of thing.
Sure.
Or they'll be in opposing, but there'll be a narrative reason. And there's this guy called the Shadow King, who I had never heard of, who came with Professor X, who I'm not interested in playing, but I'm not going to sell him, which is what I used to do. Used to paint him and sell him to the store for credit, and entirely too many times I've regretted doing that and had to go buy a box buy a box twice to get 1 model out of each. So realistically, it's just 1. I just got Professor X left to paint, and that'll be done, and then I'll find some new project. One other thing I did want to mention, I haven't really hobbied on it except to kind of sort it, but the Dead Boat game, the Uncharted Seas that Adam and I are playing, Chase has his undead fleet that he's had for years, and then he had humans just like in a cardboard box, and he's like, hey, do you want these? I was like, I'm trying not to trying to be good, not to spend a lot of money right now. He's like, the price is free, take them. I was like, yes please.
Yeah.
So I've got another fleet for that, because I really like them, because they also just look the most like what you would think of as Age of Sail kind of sailing vessels, where everything else is more steampunky and kind of just, whatever they thought would look cool. So that's kind of next on board. I need to get those cleaned up and source some sails for them, because the sails are separate pieces and I don't have enough for everything. So that's all I really got going.
That's fair. Do you want to take a guess at what I recently acquired for Team Yankee? I'll at least give you the hint that it's for Team Yankee. But I finally found one, because I periodically scour the internet for this so I can fill up the army list that I have for it. And I think I still need 4.
Giving me like the nation as a clue, is that too much of a clue?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's been so long since I've done anything with Team Yankee.
Yeah, but this is the one that I need 37 models.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I can't remember what they're called. The Jeeps.
Yeah, the VBLs.
I can't remember. Yeah. Yeah, okay. I kept thinking VADS, but that's something else. It started with a V.
Yeah, it's pretty
Uh,
close. Um,
yeah.
I managed to find another bot because like generally once a week, twice a week, I just go out and I try and search for like one of two fucking things, VBLs and Wave 13 for World of fucking Tanks because I man, I really want to love that game and playing that game and supporting that game to the point where I have someone who's willing to assist me in building a oh fuck, what is it called? List builder for it. Um, except not being able to figure out when this fucking product was supposed to release, when it actually released, where I can fucking buy it. Because like I finally saw like two of the tanks appeared on Amazon, but they're like, "Oh yeah, you're not gonna get this till like June," and I'm like, "What the fuck? It's not a pre-order. It's just the shipping's gonna take that long. Where the fuck is it coming from? Because I've accidentally done that. Like I think we mentioned the like weird metalizer varnish that I got that apparently also came from the Netherlands at some point. Even though I bought it off Amazon, I was like, wait a minute. They said it was like weak shipping. Why did this? Whatever. Okay. But yeah, like I just periodically search and then some little game shop. I want to say it was like New Hampshire or something. Like happened to have it, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, you got one. I will take that one." And got those assembled. Still need to prime all of them, and I think that puts me at 6 boxes. So I need 4 more in order to like get the full list of just 37 VBLs. But yeah, the first modeling I've actually done for any game in a while, even if it was just putting on 16 wheels. Yeah, at least we did something.
Progress. Progress is progress.
Yeah, I too have been very much, having to make that decision of, all right, we can schedule time. What are we gonna do? We can go spend time with friends and play, games at the store, be it Victory at Sea or SWU or Legion. Um, I can play with friends on online games for Helldivers because I've got like 140 hours or some shit in that game right now. Loving every second of it, especially when you got a good group of people to play with. So it's like, I've got that. Then, obviously married and have a dog. So there's time where you're like, I definitely have to spend time with the family. And it's like, and I need to like paint. But it's also that meme of like there's sleep, food, and chores in there. And you're like, well, maybe if I stop sleeping,
You're like
eating.
rearranging the blocks and yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, maybe if I stop
Yeah.
sleeping or eating or doing chores, we can actually hobby. Um, we took this week off because obviously this time of year for Hillary's job is very busy, especially in the particular faith that she is in. So we took this off to relax, and I'm really hoping because Chase's shit is on the printer now. Um, I think mathematically it can be done this week. There's like,
Oh, just the actual print time is that much?
yeah, because like I said, the guns, the cage, the fan are done, but that leaves 6 body pieces plus like a couple extras, and I think 4 of the body pieces are like 30-hour prints. 30 times 4 is 120. I don't know how many fucking days that is. Is that enough to be done this week? I don't know. Try to get a much bigger dent and then have them done by, next week or whatever. But you don't have to sit there and watch that shit as it prints. So like, I think we only have a couple things planned for this week, and then the rest of it is like can knock out a bunch of things. Um, it's all painting though. I think all the assembly is done on like everything I own except for like Fifth Brother and Seventh Sister for Star Wars Legion because I literally just picked those up on Saturday because I totally forgot when they came out. I thought they came out the week of Worlds.
Yeah, I
Uh,
was very confused by that because like we got nobody asked, and then they showed up, and we just put them back there and waited for Saturday like usual.
yeah.
And I don't, yeah, I don't know if they were late or what, but I mean like nobody was knocking down our door, so
Well, we also don't have a lot of Empire players. Like your Kyle number one is like the only one who consistently plays it and will, I guess. But
yeah,
they're also typically out of the other store closer to where they live. So
yeah,
I'm not too terribly surprised by that. Like I know for sure when the upcoming releases that they've revealed, like Clone Commandos, and stuff like that. Like we've got a shit ton of Gar players, especially Gar players who desperately want to play clone armies. Not necessarily like Jedi or vehicles or anything. They just want to play clones. Yeah,
yeah,
I know they will definitely freak out on that day. But like, I mainly just keep like full armies of everything. So it was just a little surprising to me that I totally forgot when those came out because like I picked up Poggle and the Geos the day they came out, but still haven't assembled them either. I also haven't played CIS in a while. I don't, I don't even know the last time I played them. Sometime last year, definitely.
yeah. Gonna say I feel like it's been the bag list for fairly consistently now.
It's just fun. Like
Yeah,
I I love the AAT. Every time I build a CIS list, I can't not take the AAT. I guess we're going to sidetrack into a little bit of Star Wars Legion list building here. When I play
sure.
CIS, I can't not take the tank. It's one of the coolest models. It's one of the things that I loved about Star Wars when I was growing up and watching those movies on the big screen. Um, I like Asajj. I just don't like the army that goes around her dies real fast. So I don't know. It's the same issue that I had as uh I probably still have it to this day of like playing certain RTS video games and like you want to overbuild and over upgrade the army because you don't want to lose the troopers. Like losing the troopers means you failed as a general, losing that
Sure.
starship you failed as an admiral because you couldn't protect your people fighting for you in war kind of stuff. Like I hated the idea of attrition. And CIS lists are all about like, no. You throw out the B1s, they're just droids. And it's like, but they're my droids. It's like, yeah, well, they're fodder. Like, well, I don't want them to be fodder. So at least with the rebels, I get a little bit more combat tricks. I love Jin. I love Pathfinders. Ahsoka just naturally fits with the way that I've built that list in it. Um, so I just have not had a huge incentive to take it out of the bag and put anything else in there or finish anything else because it's just I just enjoy playing it way too much. And everybody at the store now knows it and hates it. So they're just like, ah, it's in the bag. And you're like, yep, it's in the bag. And they're like, great. I don't have an answer for Force users. Or I don't throw enough dice to really, deal with the X thing properly. And it's like, yeah, turns out Pathfinders can get real tanky. But, turns out if you just keep shooting at them, the dice will eventually not save. So.
Yeah, they are still just white saves.
They are still just white
still
saves. Even if I'm
yeah.
throwing 3 extra dice, it is not amazing. So. Forgot how we got there, but yeah.
We were talking about. Yeah, I don't remember either.
I mean, it was kind of. I just remember, but whatever. Moving on to past week's Worlds qualifying. I mean, I know we actually had Worlds for a lot of events this past weekend. Giving Adepticon was out there, but we're just qualifying for the next one.
Yeah, we're looking forward, looking to the future.
Yeah, looking to the future. This podcast is super competitive, super serious about all of the games we play. Our past 3 weeks since we've recorded, work kind of screwed me over last week, but here we are. We've got 2 Victory at Sea games to cover, 1 Blood Red Sky. I will spoil that all of them were 1v1v1s. But at least Victory at Sea, we've got another player now. And we'll soon, tomorrow, will actually be a 2v2. Which I'm actually very looking forward to. I think I'm going to be an anchor on John, but we'll fucking see how it goes.
I have not discussed list building strategies at all with my opponent, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna have a lot
with my person.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna have a lot more fun with that. I pinged John like 2 or 3 times during the week, and was like, "All right, what are you thinking? What do you want to do? You want me to like mass aircraft? You want me to take submarines? You want to do like mass cruiser destroyer, or you want to take the big uns?" And he's just like, "Yeah, I was battleship." Something cool. I was like, okay. I see we are. Yeah, I see we are just building our list, and then we are just teammates. That's all that's happening. So, but yeah, our first game of Victory at Sea that we did 3 weeks ago was a 1v1v1. I'm pretty sure John took America in that one.
Yeah, I think he's played nothing but Americans for a while now, if I remember.
Fair. I know he's playing Germany tomorrow. That's because I'm playing Italian and he's my partner. But I took 2 Montanas 3 weeks ago, and I think a couple Catalinas. Were we at 2,000 points?
Yeah, I believe we were at 2K both times.
Which would make sense, because I'm pretty sure the Montana's 950. And I snuck in...
Yeah, and if you want to take 2 of them, yeah.
Yeah, I snuck in like 6 Catalinas into that list. I forget whatever the breakdown was. But this is also where we learned we were doing aircraft rules. Not entirely wrong, but we missed a shooting step. Because overall, I think John took a couple fighters. Because he tried to do the thing that you did prior to that week where your zeros like tied up my Catalinas so they couldn't really get to you. Except Carl then explained what he was reading in the rules, because Carl has turned into like up until he plays this coming week, he kind of just sat there with a PDF of the rules and was like just going over things, double checking that we were doing stuff right, because he was just getting into it, and he was like, I think you guys are missing a step. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, the aircraft guns just get to shoot before this phase? And we're just like, Excuse me, what? What do you mean they just get to shoot? He's like, yeah, here's this rule right here. And sure enough, you read it out. And it's like, yeah, beginning of this phase, any aircraft gun that is in range of an aircraft can just shoot. And you're like, sweet. Hey, John, your fighters coming in, I'm just going to murder them all before they get to my Catalinas. And my Catalinas are just going to sit here above my Montanas because now I don't know what to do with them if you can murder them before they get, you know, in range. Because, like, the incentive is you keep them out of range of guns for the turn and then you move them in. I guess you have to have enough to survive, or their local has to be crap enough for that move in. That way you're not getting like crushed twice, your aircraft twice in a turn. Depending on some of the things you take, like I forget what I took. There was something that I took in a different game that was just throwing out a crap ton of AA fire.
Just that your aircraft carrier for the Italians?
I mean, the aircraft carrier is great on the local, but there was something that I took that had a crap ton of had like 11, maybe it was in Atlanta. It had like 11 dual purpose guns and it was just throwing out fire left and right, and it was just super brutal. I know the Montanas have 18, but as we will cover, my Montanas did not last long because I made enemies on both sides, apparently, because someone couldn't wait. Oh, no, that was the other game. Yeah, I made enemies on both sides, so I did not last very long. So I was losing. I lost because I don't have torpedoes, so I would like always roll. Oh, lose torpedoes on the weapon crits. And it's like, oh, I don't have torpedoes. I need to re-roll. So you'd re-roll, and then it'd be like, oh, look at that. You're like -5 dice eventually on your light guns. It's just like, sweet. This is okay.
I just gotta add. Do you remember? Because I'm trying to rack my brain what I took for the first one. Was that the one where I took the Yamato and the Nagato?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because I was like, I know the second one. Pretty sure I just see. They were blurring together because my lists were fairly similar. But we also learned that we were doing the critical chart wrong, where escalation is checked after you do repairs.
So my question.
You check for escalation after, and that's when you apply the escalation result.
So my question on that still comes down to is like, okay, are we sure we're doing it right, but in the wrong area? Because like we're essentially doing it in the shooting phase, but would that not still happen when you get to repair? And then if you, because like essentially, Carl was talking about, well, you shouldn't be cascading, and it's like, well, the problem is you have to resolve the thing when you get the extra the crit. So like if you're on 5 fire, or not fire, if you're on like 5 crew, 5 weapons, 5 engine, and then like you take another one, because I understand the escalation part. There's a lot of times that you don't even escalate, so it's like that's never been the issue. But he's always been like, well, the cascade part shouldn't happen either, and it's like, well, when you add one, once you get to a certain level, it pretty much double, or it adds to the rest, which then also add again because you have to resolve that critical effect then and there. So like that escalation still happens, and I think ultimately is like, yeah, we may have been doing it in the wrong location, but I still think we're doing it correctly.
Because if we're doing it wrong, I don't know how you're supposed to read it. Because it seems fairly cut and dry to me. You take your shots, resolve damage, apply critical results.
Yeah.
And yeah, at the end, because I think the middle one, whatever the middle one is, applies a critical to the first and the third.
Yep.
And then the other ones each tag a single one. So if you have them all high enough, they're just going to go in an endless loop.
Yep.
Because I also don't think anywhere it says that you only apply, like it doesn't ever say to stop. You know,
Well, no, because each one tells you. Because this is the thing with the chart is like, you obviously have to resolve those things. For those who have never played Victory at Sea before, when you take crit results, you roll a d10, and depending on, what you get, you take, that's not wounds, but you take penalties to areas of your ship. So crew, weapons, and engines. So essentially, like, as the more damage you take there, stuff like firefighting gets harder. You lose dice, or you lose speed on your ship, etc., etc. Some of them will have escalations, which we were doing immediately when you triggered it. So, like, if you got a crit that put you on a square that said, hey, you're going to escalate, we were doing it immediately, but apparently you wait until essentially the end of the turn, when you do repairs, to see if it escalates.
yeah, which I get, right? Like you get a chance to bring things under control before it continues to go drastically out of control.
Yep. But the other part that he's brought up like twice, and each time we've looked through the rule book with him and been like, right, but escalation and this cascade effect are not the same thing. Is because we're not doing the escalate check that the box tells us to. It literally just says, if you get this, you also get this, which means you then resolve it, and then you go to the next box, and it tells you, oh, if you got this, then you go to this, because you've reached that, like, you're over the limit on what your crew can handle on the boat. You're essentially just need to abandon ship at that point. Like, the fire's too big, it's too uncontrolled, it's hit the magazines, like, there's nothing you can do to bring this under control. The ship is lost, kind of thing, which is how I've always viewed when it happens. But there was a point where he was trying to say the cascade and the escalation were the same, and we're like, no, because the escalation isn't what is putting us there. Because I don't even think the box 5 on the chart, because mainly there's like 5 boxes. I think only like 2, 3, and 4 maybe, or I don't even think there's a lot of escalation. It's like only certain gates that kind of have them. It's just that it seems that everybody has better dice than me, and so I usually take a lot of crits, and then those crits turn to, like, I get to 5 real quick, and once you hit 6, if anything else is close to 5, you pretty much cross over into that cascade really, really quick.
Yeah, it gets out of control.
Yeah.
Pretty ridiculous.
So, I mean...
But he can be the rules lawyer tomorrow, I guess, if he wants to.
That's fine. I would rather have somebody who knows all the rules for the game, and can correct me. I'm totally fine with that. I'm not above being told what to do.
Yeah. I don't totally remember everything I did in that one, but the second one I remember because that one was slightly more dramatic.
I mean,
I do believe they're in the second. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go. You're the one talking.
Oh, because you left before that one finished with John and I. The second one I remember, right?
Yeah.
Because I took the Yamato again that time, and I thought I was gonna be big brain, and I got a fair amount of points, dealt some damage, and you earn VPs in that game by the amount of points you kill effectively, right? So if you kill the Yamato outright, it's 1,000 points because that's how much it costs. Or once you cripple a ship, you get half. But if you decide to withdraw and just sail off of the edge of the board, your opponent only gets 25% of your cost. And I had I want to say it was a Furutaka class and a destroyer, which is like 300-ish points in the Yamato. So John basically the Nagato was gone because that make it about 2,000 points. I was like, okay, sweet. I'll just kind of angle for that edge, and I'll just like toss shots his way, see if I can sink something as I'm getting off the board. And I was 2 moves away from the edge, so the Yamato was moving because I had a bunch of criticals. So I was only going like 3-ish inches a turn. So I was probably 6 inches from the board when he fucking gets the perfect critical, dead in the water, and finally just nukes the thing off the board, I assume. Unless we're doing it wrong, which I assume we'll find out tomorrow. Because I had 6 in every single critical area by that point. I was like, yeah, it just goes. But I thought I was going to be cheeky and just like, fly both birds as I sail off the edge of the board.
Are you talking the one 2 weeks ago?
Was that 2 weeks ago? I
Yeah.
don't remember anymore.
Yeah, because...
Okay, I don't remember then.
So, the one 3 weeks ago, my Montanas and Catalina, John kind of teched against it because he saw that I had aircraft, but he didn't know what they were, so he brought fighters. And he brought a somewhat smaller fleet than what he normally brings, because I think he also brought big battleships for the most part. And yours was spread out, and because of what you and I end up always doing is we always end up sitting down across from each other, and then John always sits on like the whatever side of the table we are on, but at the opposite corner. So he will be 6 feet away from us, and we will be 3 feet, 3 or 4 feet away. Yeah. So usually what that means is you and I will exchange shots beforehand. They did not go my way on that one because I ended up taking a beating on one of the Montanas because the Yamato just throws a crap ton of dice, and I had no answer to that. So I ended up trying to slow crawl to like, well, in that case, I'm just going to let you get closer to John. And we had islands on this one. And I was like, I'm going to let you slow crawl closer to John. John had, John brought a lot of things on this one. He brought destroyers, cruisers, PT boats, aircraft, and like one big battleship. I think he also brought a Montana. That's right.
Yeah.
Because I forgot we had the land
like
masses.
15 Atlantas or something.
No, that was me.
Ridiculous. Yeah, no, that's what I was saying. Yeah, and you brought like 15 of them.
That was
or something stupid.
That was 2 weeks ago. I brought 2 Montana.
It's just one big game for me at this point.
I will tell you what was played when. Okay.
I'll mute my mic.
You don't need to mute it. Just I'm apparently the only one who writes down and remembers the games that we played.
I'm a bad podcaster. What can I say?
It's just the worst. I don't know how anybody listened to us, and we were even complimented on our chemistry here. Anyways, so now this is the one where John brought a lot of things. I had the 2 Montanas and like 6 Catalinas because that's what I could fit at our point value. Your list was more guns than it was torpedoes because you were like, well, if you're taking 2 Montanas, and you remember, because I also had to tell you guys that for some reason you forgot how the torpedo belt rule works, and you guys were doing it weird like many games ago, where you were like, oh yeah, no, you count up how many dice they threw. You multiply that by your torpedo belt number, and then you just subtract that from the damage. And it's like, no. You
Yeah, because
just
that's way better than it needs to be.
Yeah, it's like, no, you just subtract whatever your torpedo belt number is from each of the dice. I don't know if that math completely works out, but you were like, when you were explaining it to me, I was like, that seems weird. Just subtract 4. Or like in the case of Montana, just subtract 4, because it's super easy, because then you just look at some of the dice and you're like, yep, these dice don't even apply. Oh, so maybe maybe it's wrong because it lets your attacker get more damage than they would, because like if the torpedo belt just flat out cancels some of those dice, then they don't even get contributed to that number.
Right.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm not a math person.
Tomorrow, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't have my rule book at home.
Yep. But you saw that I was taking 2 Montanas, and John had Montana, and so you're kind of like, I'm just gonna take the guns, and the guns did fantastic for you. Because I don't even think his PT boats even really caught up to you. Because I know I left before that one. But when you and I had talked, like Thursday after, you were like, it was pretty close. I think he ended up winning only because, like he ran with a lot of his stuff. Because the Yamato just could not gun down like his destroyers and stuff, because like he had done enough damage to you, so you didn't have the light guns. The big cannons couldn't hit the destroyers at point blank, and he was basically just dogging you. And so when it came down to the end of it, I think you had like just barely won.
He even mentioned that he wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Since I had earned points from killing your stuff, and he was pretty well beat up as well. It's just he was the last one standing.
Right.
So.
But if you had run, and it's the fact that we were playing 1v1v1s, that makes it a little bit weirder, because we're not on teams or anything. But because he had mentioned it prior, that he was like, oh yeah, before our last victory at Sea Game, where he was like, yeah, actually now that I think about it, you had won based off of, like, I did a recalculation, and you had a couple stuff of his that was crippled, so you get like the half points for it. And he was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that technically you walked away with the win there. That one, I was drunk on power from the game prior to that, where I brought a Montana for the first time, and I was nuking things off the board. So I was like, what's better than 1 Montana nuking things off the board? 2 Montanas nuking things off the board. Except not when something with bigger guns decides to just put you in your place, and you go down real quick. I would have loved to try to make a run for the board just so I could like keep some points. Because I think I nuked a cruiser of yours. And one of John's. One of John's cruisers got a little close. But that was all I got. And I would have loved to have tried to make it to the board, but I got a lot of engine crits and then crippled. Because I was limp for a while, with like 1 turret on each of them, just being like, yep, this is a lot of fun. This is great. And so I saw how well you guys were doing with like somewhat realistic fleets, with destroyers and cruisers and battleships, and I was like, all right, next game I'm gonna have to do that. And we can jump into that one. But I was betrayed, because I thought you and I silently had come to the same conclusion when we saw John's fleet of lots of battleships. I thought we came to the same conclusion that you and I were going to fight John together. So I brought Montana, crap ton of Atlantas. a couple small destroyers, no aircraft, and a Tennessee battleship. So Montana, Tennessee, a bunch of Atlantas, and a couple destroyers. And my plan was to just kind of like spread out a little bit and then line up so that when John came into both of us, he was going to go down an alley of gunfire. Except someone was like, oh, look, that Montana, it's in range of my guns. Even though it's pointing away from me and going towards my enemy, why not bitch slap it before it gets to do anything?
Apparently, my strategy was to close my eyes and just start throwing haymakers, and whatever I connected with, I connected with.
It fucking worked, man. At least for me.
Yeah.
I don't remember how well it went for you against John after I was dead, because like, oh no, you just said I still think
you had very little left.
Yeah, I think you won that one though, because you're the one that killed most of my fleet. Like, you took down the Montana. I think John got the Tennessee, but most of the Atlantas, like, once you popped the Montana, they turned to try and, like, gun down your 3 only destroyers and, like, your couple cruisers. But they just couldn't do anything. And your Yamato was just, like, occasionally throwing the ass turret out at my Atlantas and just popping them like each time it shot, and I was just like, this is I just suck at this game. It doesn't matter what fucking it doesn't matter what faction I take. So I think I'm just, even though I have a way more Americans, I think I'm just gonna stick to the meme of cultural appropriation in Italy and then eventually France, and just be like, yes, the Luigi Cordona is coming for your butthole, kind of stuff. Bibbidi bobbidi, think of my biscotti, kind of things. Because I just have more fun when I'm memeing than like, all right, we're gonna try hard. We're Americans. You're prior Navy. Let's do this kind of shit. And then like every time I have tried to turn on the Yamato, I have just like gotten my ass whooped, and I don't know what to fucking do about it. So we're just gonna meme our way to victory and win the hearts and minds of the peoples, and not the actual battles. Hopefully John can carry my fat ass tomorrow.
Shall we on to Blood Red Skies?
Sure, because I'm actually somewhat decent at this one. Although my plan worked out better. It was the same plan in Victory at Sea as Blood Red Skies, except this time I actually was able to perform it very well. And it was funny because, hey, it's the same list that I've been playing every time we played Blood Red Skies now. 5 Franks, 4 of them are rank 4 pilots, 1 of them's a rank 2. The rank 2 always goes out in front and is like, hey, what's up? I'm just a dude out here by myself. There's no one else out here. Just come shoot me. See what happens. I promise I'm all alone. Nobody up here. And John looked at it and was like, that's fucking bait. And you looked at me and you're like, hey, do you know the meme? I was like, the bait meme? And you're like, yeah, that's bait. And I was like, it is. And we all know it's bait because I do the same thing with it every single fucking time. And John chased it. And I was like, John, you said it was bait. And he's like, it is bait. And I was like, well, why are you chasing it? And he's like, well, I'm not going after you. I'm going after Aaron, but I'm going to like swing wide. And I was like, yeah, but you're going after the bait. Like, you have 2 aircraft following the bait. Like, that's not going after Aaron. And he's like, well, you're just going in the same direction I'm going. And I was like, okay, but if you're going the same direction the bait's going, that means you're going to fall into the trap. And he was very surprised when 4 Franks jumped his 2 Hellcats, I think.
Yeah, I do not remember
Oh
what he played.
no, he played Thunderbolts.
Okay, yeah,
The P-47s. That's right. He just doesn't have the model for him. So like he was playing the P-47s, and I was like, John, why? You knew it was bait. So even if you're not intentionally going after that thing to shoot the thing, why would you follow it and line yourself up for what you knew was going to be like a kill box? And he was just very surprised. I don't remember how you died, though. Did John finish you off?
yeah. Just poor choices on my part.
Was it because you took
Yeah.
only 3 Corsairs?
Did I take? Yeah, I only took 3. Because there was the card where if you have an element that deploys with 3, the rearmost aircraft is automatically advantaged. And so I was kind of like, I can probably, the odds are in my favor that I'll at least start neutral on everything else. And I'm pretty fast. Maybe I can skirt the edge of the battlefield, take some shots, and leverage my speed and the fact that, I'll have one advantaged and have a turn to get advantaged and kind of just like try and take pot shots around the edge as opposed to diving into the big fur ball in the middle. And yeah, because a few times I was like kind of like inching around to try and like trying to like get an extra inch into disadvantage and just kind of nibble from the outside.
John didn't kill
eat
you.
the pizza from yeah.
I
And
did.
it didn't work.
Yeah. No, it worked because you last longer than John. John was very much that, like, I don't understand why you shot at me. And I was like, John, you followed the bait plane into the kill box. Why would I let you, why would I let you go? Like, we're not on a team. It's a free for all. And you followed the bait plane. Even if you had no intention on shooting and killing the bait plane, you went exactly where I wanted you to and blew him off the board. And once that happened, because you still had all 3 left, but you had 2, I think you had 2 boom chits on you. And then, like, in one turn of shooting, I put another one on you. And then I think we wasted a turn because I just couldn't get anything close enough to, well, first off, you kept making your outmaneuver save, which was really annoying. And it wasn't, yeah, I think we wasted a turn doing that where I was like trying to outmaneuver you so I could head on and shoot you. You just kept making the save every time. Super frustrating. But you were an ace pilot on all your Corsairs. So then eventually it was your wingmen were too far behind to prevent me from doing the what's the thing on the tail called? Do you remember?
On the tail.
Yeah.
Tailing?
Yeah, tailing. There we go. Duh. Obviously. But it's, where if you get directly on someone's tail in their rear arc and you're pointed exactly at the post with the arrow, then they automatically drop down an advantage level. So, like, I had to do that to you twice. I missed both times, and then in the head-on with like the scrub, the bait plane. The bait plane finally took you down, and it was great. But it was also just funny because John kept complaining, like, well, I don't understand why you shot at me. And I was like, because you followed the bait plane. Like, how many times do I have to say this, John? It's not like our last victory at Sea Game where I looked at Aaron and I was like, hey, I thought we had an unspoken deal. We were going to go beat up on John, and you nuked my biggest ship in the first round. What's going on? It's like, not that. Everybody acknowledged that that plane out there by itself was bait, and you followed it. So I don't know what to tell you, man.
Yeah, I mean, like that strategy was at least it wasn't bad. I'm not saying it's bad, but it was definitely transparent. Like I was like clear when one dude's way out in front by himself and
And
he's
it's
way lower in skill than
yeah,
everybody else, and they're just like, yeah, go get him, go get him. You're just standing back there,
yeah, and it's
just
like
waiting, just salivating at the chance of shooting something down.
John looks over and it's like, man, you managed to get advantage, and it's like, well, yeah, I get to roll twice, and even though it's poor quality and my roll is -1, it's like rolling twice, you get a good chance at doing it again. Um, and he was like, I don't know about this bait. I'm not gonna go over there. And then specifically does that thing that I warned you about in Legion, where he just sent off 2 aircraft by themselves that are a part of a full squad, and you're hammering on one side, and I'm like, well, why would I not? Because that game is all about throwing dice. You want to try and kill your opponent? You don't actually have to kill the aircraft. Just throw dice, get boom shits. And so it's like, I don't care if you're rolling 8 defense dice and I don't kill you. I just want boom shits. I know how to win this game. It's very simple. Still want you to do. I still want you to play that list at some point that we talked about the last time we recorded with the Corsairs and your own type of bait with the Hellcats, because I think you just played it wrong. I think it's still a great list.
Yeah, because I'm trying to remember how many of each. I feel like I took a flight of 4
Yep.
Wildcats and 2 Ace Corsairs.
Yep. And because you had the
Yeah.
2 squads, and the Corsairs crashed first, it was just super easy for me to be like, oh, I only got to do 3 boom chits to this thing. Let me get them off the board. Whereas, like, the Hellcats were going to be harder, but they crashed later. And when your Corsairs went down, you were very much like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. It's like, I get it.
Yeah, that is one complaint I have about Blood Red Skies is it just kind of seems to fizzle out as like the end of the game. I don't know. Maybe I'm not playing it right, or I don't understand the way you're supposed to play it, the intention. But just the fact that you can lose and still have everything in the air. Like I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I fall in and out of love with that game. It's weird.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think also the fact that we keep only playing dogfighting because we don't really have any bombers or anything else. Because I think there's only like one other mission that doesn't require large aircraft. But it's not as fun because it's the one that's just like, oh, your opponent just has to get to the other side of the map. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's only 3 feet, my guy. Like, that's not hard. All they have to do is
Yeah.
get there before before their squad like gets boom shits. Okay, that's fairly easy to do. I don't know. I do really want to eventually, like once I'm done with the water moccasin, really want to do some like bombers, transport aircraft, stuff like that, so we can try out the other ones.
Yeah. I'm. I don't mind spending money to buy games, but that's not a game I want to throw money at Warlord for.
Well, and it's also like you can't buy those. Like,
Oh, fair. Okay, I hadn't even looked that deep into the catalog.
yeah, there are cards, and I think there's cardboard cutouts somewhere. But
Right, because there was some in the whatchamacallit, in the starter set anyway for stuff.
yeah, and like some of the like card packs, the expansions have cards for like Lancaster bombers and stuff, but they don't have models. So like we just have to print them off, which is totally cool and fine. I'm down to do that. There's just priorities right now. So And you know what? Maybe this game turns into like our World of Tanks, where, because I mean, when it's just us, it's pretty fucking quick. I think we've played like 2 or 3 games a night when it's just us.
Yeah.
It just takes longer when there's three because now you have to do more. So, which is fine. You know, if it's just a quick game we pick up here and there between like Team Yankee and Victory at Sea, then cool.
Shall we move on to our contentious conjecture?
Yeah, I don't really know how long we're gonna spend on this one because I don't. I don't really know what to say about it for the most part. Um, so the thing that kind of spawned this is Star Wars Legion, uh, recently taken over by AMG, not by their choice. Asmodee consolidated their uh, game houses, if you want to call them, their shops into one and said, you're going to be card games, you're going to be miniature games, you're going to be board games, etc., etc. So, with that being done, that meant AMG got to put their own spin on all their rules as they did updates. And so one of them last year was, in their mind, to disincentivize slow play. You're not going to know when the time starts, and you're not even going to know really how much time there is in the game, because you're going to have a set time limit, and then on top of that, they're going to roll 5 dice, and if they get X result, you increase the time by 1 minute. So if you don't know, in their head, if you don't know when time was started and how much time is on there, you can't slow play to like get the result that you want. And I don't necessarily agree with it. I think it's super frustrating, super annoying in terms of like tournament organization, and like I don't even know if Game Uplink, the software that we use, has a feature to like work with that. It
Changing the amount of time of a round? No.
Yeah. So it's just a super weird and clunky thing to do to try and stop something that like is somewhat of a problem. And nobody likes it in the community. I have not seen a post that says, no, I love this, or anything in Facebook or the Legion Discord. Obviously, all of the like super competitive blogs and podcasts, they hate it. But when the rule was first changed last year, a lot of people even said, hey, don't do what we know the community is going to do. Don't ignore this, but instead play with it because it's the rules, and provide that feedback to the company to be like, hey, we don't like this. It doesn't actually do what you thought it was going to do. We need to change this. And the reason it like was brought back to the forefront of my mind is because right before Adepticon, certain community members turned around and were like, hey, AMG, this is not the place to test rules. And what they were referring to was this time thing. And it was like, whoa, 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 whoa. They're not testing this. They had a whole year to test this. But AMG doesn't run the tournaments. The players do. And the volunteers that step up to run these events do. And all of these other event runners all said, we're not going to do this because it's dumb. So I don't know what the process is on AMG's side to like review that, or if it takes just getting constant, please change this, please change this, please change this. But like in their mind, it's not a problem, even if they're not aware that uh, everybody's not using this. Nobody's saying otherwise. So in their mind, yeah, it's great. Nobody's got a problem with it. There was a minor rumble at the beginning when it was first introduced, but we haven't heard shit since then, so must be doing well. And then to like turn around and be like, hey, we're a week out from the tournament. This is no place to test this rule. And it's like, remember when you said that you should have just done it and then provided the feedback repeatedly until it was changed? Because guess what? We had a major rules change or rules update or point update or game balance 6 months after that, because on average we get one twice a year. So that would have been a perfect time to have it done. But yeah. So I guess the contentious conjecture is like, don't, if you're going to be competitive, don't ignore the rules and then, complain when they're enforced at the event where the organizer is the person that makes the rules, I guess, is the contentious conjecture.
Before we go any further, I just want to double back and clarify something because I didn't realize this. They're not actually allowed to know when the round starts? I
Yeah.
thought you still called like, all right, round start.
Nope. So the way that I understood it is they did the pairings, and then at some point during that,
Like after they go live?
yeah, after the pairings go live and they're all announced and put out there, at some point, similar to how we kind of like forget to start time at our local events, that kind of thing happens. Not that they forget, but you don't know when it actually starts.
That's incredibly stupid. Like I agree with your frustration with the people that were talking about this and that attitude, but I also agree with them thinking the rule's stupid. Like
Right.
it's not, it's still, in many ways it's just a band-aid to not address the concept of, or the problem of slow play.
Which ultimately, like, we just keep coming back to it. It's like fucking just use chess clocks.
Yeah.
Like,
sure, that means you need to somehow make sure you define how much time each player gets. Do they both get 2.5 hours? Do they split the time? Because, if there's two people playing in the 2.5 hour round, they should each get half of that time for active play. Whatever. That is a whole nother can of worms for you to figure out. But it's at least it's a tangible thing you can see in front of you.
right.
Because for the longest time, I was like, why does it matter if they don't know when time's going to get called? You don't update them. If I tell them when time starts, they can just fucking start a stopwatch or something, or they can look at their phone and see what time it is when time starts,
Yep.
and at least have an idea. But gee, I didn't even realize that they weren't supposed to know when time started.
Well, yeah. It's like, I agree with them. The rule is not good. But the community does the same thing the community does every time, with the exception of like, it's super weird because like they ignored the OP rules, but then they don't ignore cover rules. Like, it's super weird to me, like which rules you're gonna.
Sorry, OP rules? What do you mean specifically when you say OP?
The like tournament organization, organized play.
Okay, gotcha.
Because like that rule is not in the core rule book.
Okay, sure. It's not in the rules of how to play the game.
Right.
Gotcha.
It's in the tournament rules. So it's like they are perfectly fine, which is super weird to me in the ones where they give out worlds invites. They're super fine ignoring those rules, but when it comes to other rules they don't like and hate, like cover and everything else. They're like, oh no, we gotta stick to those rules. It's like, what's the difference? They're both rules that are set out by the company that are, doing this. Why is one okay to ignore, vice the other? Because everybody thinks the new cover rules are stupid. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think they've said it before I stopped listening to this particular group of people. Um, hey, maybe that'll be my. I'll add this on as a contentious conjecture. They think that the competitive scene is what makes this game successful and drives it, and is the reason it still exists in many ways. That might be like a broad generalization, but they've stated it that without the competitive scene, Legion wouldn't be a product. And I don't know if that makes them feel like they are the ultimate authority on this kind of thing, like when it comes to the cover rules and all this stuff, but it's a portion of it, absolutely, because there's a scene for that. But just random people that are hanging out playing with their friends and getting excited for a cool new release because it's thematic and cool, not because necessarily is good, is just as important to the health of a game system as the sweaty tryhards trying to prove that they're better than some other sweaty tryhard.
Oh man. So I don't know if I've like blanked that out or not. Cause like on the one hand, I've heard some sentiments to like that, but it usually comes from like the super competitive people. But I've usually felt that a lot of the content creators around Legion are very like understanding that it's not, but I think they just talk around to the point where it can be like that, because obviously the one that I always come back to is like skirmish, like their take on skirmish and how it needs to be like super updated and yada yada yada. And it's like, or it's literally like, it doesn't need to be competitive, it doesn't need to have a tournament scene, it's literally just the thing that people are like, hey man, I got 45 minutes and I want to play with my Star Wars toys. Cool, let's play some skirmish. Cool. I got 500 points. Cool. Or, learn to play at 500. Stuff like that. I think if you're super competitive around a game, it's very easy to believe that everything has to be balanced and set up for everything. Because they've also mentioned, and people still do it and post about it in Reddit and Facebook, where they're like, oh man, look at this clamber roll, and you're like, bro, clamber hasn't been a thing for like a year and a half now.
Oh yeah.
So like they're aware and stuff like that, that not everybody just keeps up with it. But those people aren't also going to listen to the podcasts. They're not going to consume the videos. They're not going to consume the stuff. They just have the thing that they saw at a local store, and they enjoy hanging out with a couple friends, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think the problem is becoming, and it's one of the reasons that I just stopped following basically all of that. The most I do is I'm still in Facebook groups just because I like to see cool models and, see things when they get spoiled, that kind of thing.
Well, and I mean,
Because I distinctly remember, huh?
go ahead.
Okay. Uh, I distinctly remember when Legion kind of hit a bit of a stride where we were a few waves in prior to clones being released. A lot of folks are like, yeah, it's kind of sucks that you really only have the two factions, so realistically you only ever have two potential matchups. But everybody was so happy with how fun the game was, and it was during this big exodus of people from Warhammer 40,000 that had a lot of that attitude when it came to competitive play and the problems that we've talked about. with, despite the joke in the name of our podcast and us not being competitive players at all, about how that toxic attitude, it just seems like to me is like everybody came over, it was a shiny new toy, stars in your eyes kind of thing, and it's just slowly inched its way back to, yep, it's just as toxic as it was in 40K. It's just Star Wars this time now, and I've just basically cut myself out of that completely, except for Facebook groups. So
Uh, hmm. So yeah, our podcast name is definitely like a tongue in cheek version of that. Because I don't know how super competitive you had gotten in any of the games you played. I had definitely started out that way, wanting to be that way in Armada and Legion. Um, but during some unrelated self reflection, um, just kind of like trying to figure out why super angry and unhappy all the time and this and that, and what are my focuses in life, because like it wasn't just tabletop games, it was also like video games, like League of Legends. I was very big into that for a long time and doing ranked, and
its toxicity is legendary.
yeah, and I just had a realization that I was like, I used to play these because I would laugh and be happy and enjoy, because of the cool things that I was seeing or the cool things that I was doing and this and that. And um, it really like changed my focus to, I just want to do these things to have fun. And that's ultimately why I choose some of the game systems, despite how frustratingly annoying Victory at Sea can be.
It really is. It really can be, rather.
But the explosions, they're so worth it.
When that game, when it hits right and it's kind of like going on all cylinders and it's working, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it
Uh,
cackling maniacally as your ship sinks to the bottom because you just watched like someone crit 3 times with vital explosions, that you're just like, that's the way the dice got to be sometimes, kind of stuff. It's just more enjoyable because then we can come here and we can talk about it and share these moments even before we start doing the podcast. But I don't know.
yeah,
I don't. Go
I'll
ahead.
say just my take on what you just said about coming to that realization. So there was only ever one game that I truly felt that I could and wanted to play at a competitive level, and it's like a different nerd like deep cut is the WoW World of Warcraft trading card game. Never played World of Warcraft. Played like Warcraft 3, Frozen Throne, that kind of thing. Picked it up because a friend played it. Loved that game to death. One of my favorite card games of all time. And I loved it, and I wanted to be competitive because I could play the niche kind of thing that I liked playing that wasn't super meta, and I was good enough at it, and the deck was good enough that I was like, cool. If we want to go to some qualifying event, I have a real chance. Like I might not place, but I might go like 3-2 to at least get a winning record. But other than that, it's never been. I'm more interested in being competitive in that, like, say you and I are playing a game of Legion and it's really down to the wire, and we're sitting there trying to make really difficult decisions on what to do, and it gets really heated in the moment, like intense. Like that's the kind of competition that I enjoy, right? Win or lose, the game was really intense and close. That's what I find engaging. I don't, because these people that that in my opinion start to ruin the game because of their competitiveness, it's because they can only have fun if they're winning. That's the only time the game is engaging for them, is if the puzzle of the game is solved and that they're doing the thing to win. And that's not an indictment on being competitive, though. If that's how you enjoy your hobby, I've made that argument many times, both on the podcast, just and in casual conversation at the store, is that I don't want to rain on your parade. However you want to have fun, That's awesome. Have your fun, but that means I get to have mine too, and we both need to be able to like respect the space that you're in terms of like what that group's trying to do. So if you're if you're at a casual tournament at a random store for gift card money on a Saturday, like maybe drop the sweatiness level a little bit, especially if you're not it's not enough people to get you elo points. Just calm the fuck down. And but if it's Worlds, I made a point that like we were going to do everything by the book and do the rounds and make sure that it was taken care of, because it really mattered for some of those people that were there. And if they got that invite, I wanted to make sure that they got it fair and square and that it counted and they could go, because that's like the one big competitive event of the year that we did. So
Yeah, and I'll agree. The games where like you and I can really exercise that like strategy and thought are some of the most fun. Like the first time I think I played your Wookiees um, in that one tournament day where we didn't have buys, so you and I got to play is like some of the best memories, because it's like really
and it was a seesaw. It was back like I don't want to say like dejected and defeated, but like you annihilated almost completely 2 units off the board, and it was my own fault. We've discussed that, but it swung back the other way, and there was a real chance, and it was a nail biter, and it was down to like I think one play mistake on my choice, or on my on that I made, a choice I made. But it that's the kind of competition that I find engaging. But whenever we talk about these other people being competitive, that's not the same kind of thing I think that they're doing. So,
and like I don't want to like shit on people for that, because like obviously I disagree with some of their takes, and that's the purpose, but some people genuinely enjoy that level of competitiveness. Their minds are just wired that way, combined with the fact that obviously they make a lot of friends, they meet a lot of people. You can never really discount like the experiences you have at those large events, but like that's not everything. That's not the whole point. For the most part, I'll say a lot of the people who do the content creation, they know that they talk about it, and they try and do stuff that also caters to people that are more like us, or those who do more of the home stuff. Um, but it's very easy to slip into thinking competitive is the only thing that matters, and that's the only way to do things. Like, I remember a very toxic interaction that I had with someone on the Facebook who was like, Jin's just a trash character, should never be taken in anything, and this and that, and was just wailing. This was like years ago, and I was like, I don't necessarily agree. I find that I've had a little bit of success with her, because this is before I really gave up CIS. I think I had played Rebels like 2 or 3 times, and I wasn't doing this list because Ahsoka wasn't out. I was like, I don't know, she's a lot of fun, but I think a lot of people misconstrue what she's supposed to do. She's not a beat stick. She's not even a precision scalpel. Like, her whole thing is objective play, and that's it. And I think people are too aggressive with her on the objective play, and which is why she folds pretty quick. And the response that I got back was, well, excuse me, your opinion doesn't matter. I have actually won, I forget what the online tournament that they do is.
on TTS.
Yeah, the big one that they do like every year. I think they do like twice a year. But they were like, oh, well, I'm this year's champion. And I was like, okay, what is your point? Like, just because you think like a lot of your stuff is like up, like focusing on upgrading her like um damage ability, like either through her or helping other people. And it's like it's not what she does. Like, she's purely just sneaky objective. You can't just throw her out there and be like, yeah, she's gonna grab the objective and run, because dice pools are way too huge. Even back then, Rexstar was popping off in the ability to fucking standby share. It was disgusting. And it's like that point where you're just kind of like, I don't know, man. Take a step back, think about things. Not everything has to be, super competitive, and not everything has to be played in the way that everything else is played. Because that's one of the chief complaints of a lot of video games is like homogenization. If everything plays the same, the only difference is the fucking skin, then who cares? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I feel that, yeah, because that is exactly the problem, where it's just like, no, I'm clearly I'm better than you. You don't know what you're talking about. Kind of
yeah,
shitting on other players.
yeah,
Yeah, it's made me not want to play games in the past.
yeah. And I go back and forth. I don't know if I would wish I never got into podcasting. Not like us casting. I mean, I don't know if I would have gotten there if I didn't listen to other creators. Um, but it's like I kind of wish sometimes I never got into that side of the community. But at the same time, like, I still appreciate a lot of the stuff that they do, and a lot of the like, I mean, I, without like giving too much away, like the one podcast, just they do a lot of insane and wonderful things. Um, they do just tend to be the ones. Certain members just do tend to be the ones that say the things where you're like, all right,
Well, I was gonna say, I wouldn't even feel like it's not entirely their fault either. I think, despite all my arguments I made, right? Because they've said many times that they're a competitively minded podcast, and you've made this point to me before in the past, that they're kind of the biggest one of the biggest ones on the scene, and so everybody's watching, and so everybody assumes that that's what you're supposed to play, that's how you're supposed to enjoy the game, when it doesn't need to be that way.
yeah, and not to take a shot at them, because they are
Don't do it.
extremely good at the game that they play. They are very, very good at Legion, but none of them won Worlds this year. And it's stuff like that that it just makes me want to remind people that, like, there are other things out there than, what you may subscribe to and listen to and read and this and that. There's other stuff out there that can come out of nowhere and do what you're not expecting. And on top of that, at another point, and I'm blinking and I'm kind of vamping now to try and like remember what the other thing. Oh yeah, they're just people behind a podcast. Like, you and I are fucking idiots. We at least admit it, that we don't know what we're doing half the time. So if we turn around and tell people that, like, hey, Victory at Sea, you should only be playing Tennessee battleships. In Blood Red Sky, you should only be taking, I don't know, fucking the Buffaloes. In World of Tanks, you should take nothing but Stuarts, and Team Yankee take nothing but aircraft. That's it. Like, have a little skepticism, even though we can afford to record this and host it somewhere. We're two idiots with an opinion. Like, I think that's ultimately the contentious conjecture here, is like, just because someone's out there saying it doesn't mean there's a lot of weight behind it, and it shouldn't be the end all be all.
Ultimately, we're all just idiots on the internet.
We're all just idiots on the internet.
Oh, if that's not the title of this episode, I'm gonna be very disappointed.
I mean, I'm down. I'm gonna type it up
I like that one. Yeah.
because I'm gonna forget it when I like go to post this tomorrow. Just
Oh.
idiots on the internet. Boom. I will maybe remember. Well, since we rambled and traveled an insane path, uh, do we want to go into the little thing that we mentioned we maybe want to go into at the end of this?
Real talk?
Yeah.
I forgot what it was.
Shwoo!
So that's up to you.
I think. I mean, we're mainly a mini podcast, but I'm pretty fucking obsessed.
Yeah, no, let's do the thing. I really like Star Wars Unlimited a lot.
Oh my god, I love it, and I wasn't sure if I would like their like. It's really annoying that we call it a multiplayer format. By the way, I hate that because technically the game is already multiplayer. It's just
Oh, fair. Yeah.
you get to play with more than two people. As I would say with you at the table, I just need to reel in the tism a little bit on that one.
Yeah, that was a little pedantic.
It is.
I'm all for that, but yeah.
It is very. It's just a thing that drives me nuts. But I wasn't convinced I was gonna like that because it's got a weird. It's got a weird ending mechanic, but it works.
Which, yeah, I think it works a lot better than we all gave it credit for, honestly.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. So for those who don't know, Star Wars Unlimited is a brand new TCG. Came out a month ago.
Yeah, it was first Friday in March. So about a month.
Yeah. If you played Star Wars CCG by Decipher, it's not exactly, but there are elements that it's like Star Wars CCG and MTG had a baby, and it makes me really happy because you have like the color identity stuff from Magic, but you kind of have like the arenas for space combat and ground combat. Uh, some I'll call it a force ability, uh, in the way that you would like pay for your stuff, except it's like universes where you have foundations, but there's no land. I'm overcomplicating the shit out of it. There's better YouTube videos and shit that'll walk you through how to play it. There's even like a very simple forcetable.net like AI that you can play, that'll like run you through the game on super limited stuff. It's not a super competitive player, but it's enough for you to like test a deck and get a feel for how things are supposed to go. Um,
Get more out of it than if you were just to sit there and goldfish a deck.
yeah,
So it has its place for sure.
yeah, and I'm fucking addicted. Um, we've had three weeks now of like casual
Yes.
play.
Yep.
Yep. So Thursday nights, like we don't do Gaslands anymore. It's now our SWU night at the store. So we've consistently high numbers, like 12, 15, 16.
It's been double digits for every event the stores run for it,
Yeah.
pre-release or otherwise.
Which has been pretty nuts for, normally what we pull in on Thursday nights for Gaslands.
For
But
a game that's not Magic the Gathering, it's pretty darn good.
yeah. And we've got a little decent community. The more I play it, the more I love it. The more I build random ass decks with it, the more I love it. And then Twin Suns is their multiplayer like commander from Magic the Gathering format, where singleton, large number deck, playing four players, fighting each other. I I hope this game's around for a long time. I want to play this game for a long time.
I mean, like, I feel like it should just like it's Star Wars, right? Like they have so much content to mine for cards.
And
You know,
were you the one
yeah.
telling me
What's that?
that they signed a contract, or when they did the contract for this game, that they put in the contract that like everything is on the table, like
So,
legends.
so from what I understand, firstly, uh, every piece of media in canon currently is
Sure.
for sure eligible, right?
Yeah.
Their license is not for the movies; it is for Star Wars as a property. That I know is for sure.
Which
And I've
we've
heard
seen.
from other players. Yeah. Well, I just go back to Marvel Crisis where like for a while there like I wasn't sure if their license was just for the movies because like the inspiration was very clear. But fair. Um anyway, uh yeah, I heard from many players that like Star Wars as a property wasn't super concerned with bringing things from Legends back in a card game because it's kind of the format to do it because it's not to diminish it as a game or as a thing, right? Is that it's just a card game. Like it to me it's at a different level of like it's a place to have weird stuff and like what ifs happen is a
Well,
card game. So yeah, potentially we should be getting non-canon stuff.
and on top of that, it's not unheard of for Disney to allow stuff from Legends to come to games, because I don't know how many other people out there who listen to us know this game, and I don't even know if you know, but there's a mobile called Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, and
I've heard of it. I've managed to avoid
fair.
that money pit.
I definitely don't spend money on it.
Hmm.
But in the game, it is a fully licensed game. I think even EA is the like overall uh, distributor, publisher, whatever. But like full on licensed LFL everything, and they have brought back stuff from Legends. Like Dash Rendar is in the game. The Outrider is in the game. So they very clearly are like, yeah, this is a really weird little game. You know, if people remember this and like love, oh fuck, I think we even have Mara Jade. Yeah, we do. So definitely like, and those are all within the last year or so. They've come to this game, so it's not like, oh, this game was out in like 2001, and that's when they brought them in. No, these are like relatively recent additions to the roster. So I feel like maybe Disney's just being like, oh, that'll make us more money. Don't give a shit. Give us make more money. Make all the money. So like I can totally see that happening in the card game. But we've also seen that they're not focused only on the movies, because there's a number of characters that appear in certain TV shows, and not even like the live actions. Like they show up in cartoons or comic books so far. So we're very much like, okay, yeah, you dabbled a lot in the movies and a lot of the main characters, obviously from the uh, the original trilogy. But
And hit the high points for sure.
yeah, obviously the thing that will get the most attention in like, oh, I know who Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader are, Palpatine, stuff like that. Like they hit those notes to do the initial draw, because obviously there's still a lot of hate towards the sequels. So if you start there, you're probably not going to get the best. Um, yeah, I think it's doing really well right now. I think the game is a lot of fun. I have like 8 decks, 9 decks if you include Twin Suns. I think.
My God, I have 4 that are playable right now. And that includes Twin Suns. So I took apart Thrawn with the intention of rebuilding him, and I haven't got around to it.
Fair.
But when it comes to like card games, I've never been in the past, like, so I'm not really doing it. I don't think I'm gonna been the one to like, I want a complete playset, or you know, like I want one of each kind of collection. Usually, like I get the decks that I want, and I slowly just like, whatever, it's just cards. Or like I've never been one to want to get cards graded or get them signed by the artist. But my God, some of them I really like. I think the I think the criticism of some of the art for this game is totally 100% valid.
True.
Uh, but I had the pull of a lifetime. I've never had a pull that good. I pulled a showcase Boba Fett out of my second of the for the 2 boxes that I bought, or 3 boxes that I bought. Just alt art, super low. For those that don't know, super low pull rate. I think it's like 1 in 4 boxes. You're
Nope.
guaranteed a showcase.
Nope.
Is it not?
Nope. Nope, bruh.
Yeah, because you opened like 10 boxes and didn't get a single one.
The pull pack, or the pull rate, according to the website, is 1 in 12 boxes.
Boxes or cases?
Boxes. So
okay, 1 in 12.
So if you buy 2 cases, ideally you get 1.
Okay.
No. So that's
yeah. when I pulled that one, it was on TCG for like $700, and we were all like, all right, it's probably gonna drop, it's gonna settle.
nah.
Maybe it'll be high. It is Boba Fett. He is one of the most iconic characters of the original series, right? He's also on everybody's mind because of Mando and all that kind of thing. And as soon as I got him, like, this is awesome. Like, I rode that high for a week. Like, I was grinning ear to ear. My wife was sitting in the other computer sorting her Lorcana because that's her jam. And I'm just sitting there sorting my Star Wars cards with a big old dumb grin on my face for like another hour. But I had no intention of keeping it. Like, I don't care. Boba Fett's cool. He's objectively cool. I won't say he's not, but I don't care. I just don't give a shit. But I certainly know someone that is going to be chomping at the bit to get it from me, and I will even give him like the homie hookup, and not even like whatever, it's at 700. I'll give it to you for 5, or whatever the case was. And we agreed. Chase and I agreed that 2 weeks to the day from when the game came out, whatever the price was at, and then we would shake on it and be like, all right, that'll be like the starting haggle, I guess you could say. But then they hit some printing problems, and the game continued to be incredibly difficult to find, and the prices started going up and up and up and up, and it hit 500, and I was like, if you want to buy it now, like, I just want to store credit and products. Like, it's not, this isn't like, maybe if I could get $1,000 out of it, I'd go invest in a gaming PC, get a super nice mic and all that shit. But anyway,
I mean, if you got it PSA graded,
but
I saw one on eBay for 110, or not 110, 1,100 on eBay for a PSA 10.
Yeah, but I was telling my wife, I was like, if I ever pull another one of those, I'm getting that bitch graded. That's for sure. If Chase decided he didn't want it, like, it actually would be worth getting graded. But man, if I pull a Leia showcase, I want to get it graded. I want to get the artist to sign it, because I really, really, really like the showcase Leia art. Like,
yeah,
so good. Tirade, rant aside, but yeah, it's such a fun game.
Well, we're all just idiots on the internet.
Yeah.
You want to say goodbye to the people?
Is that all you got? Yeah. Hi, Adam. I waved like people could see me.
Hi, Snowflake Nutella. Thank you for leaving a positive comment. We were pretty fucking happy when we saw that. So
it was very difficult for me to convey my happiness, though, because you just so happened to let me know as I was driving to work.
Yeah.
But I was being totally safe, and of course I didn't try and text and drive.
Yeah. But yeah. Thank you, everyone who listens for us. It's nice that we have a small community that tunes in whenever we can find the time to record and post and listen to us just rant like 2 idiots. So Bye.
Please, on the internet. Bye.